Hello friends and welcome. I'm Cassidy Carson and this is The Life of a Writer. Today is another late day video because I got completely thrown off track this morning. Our furnace kicked on at around 7 a.m. and started making a really awful noise that was unfamiliar to me. And I obviously got up and turned it down because I wasn't sure what the heck was going on. Went down and checked it out. I had just recently greased the motor on it, so I didn't think that was the issue. And when I checked the valves, I found that the PSI was down to 0. Now we have an old baseboard heating system with a boiler in the basement, and I wasn't sure about how to fix the issue. I knew that the optimal numbers for the PSI should be between 12 and 15, maybe a little higher depending on how big the house was and all that. But I had to watch a YouTube video to feel confident enough to actually address the issue. So I went down there and took poor JT along with me so we could figure out if we could fix this without having to call in our plumbers to service the boiler, because we did have the plumbers come out pretty recently for another kind of noise problem, which is how I learned that I needed to lubricate the motor. And just that quick 5 or 10 minute visit cost hundreds of dollars, which, ouch. Not to say that plumbers aren't worth the money that they're paid. It's just that, if it's something I can address on my own, I need to deal with it. So we did take care of that this morning, but it's thrown off the whole day because I was startled out of a sleep to this awful noise. And I didn't really have plans for the day anyway. I had a vague idea that I should do some house cleaning or something. So as I started to try to figure out and resolve the problem with the furnace, I realized that my day was going to be thrown completely off track because I am a creature of habit. And not only did I have to deal with the furnace, but JT had to go out first thing to do some errands, and we didn't have breakfast right when we got up as usual, and everything was out of whack today. So that's why this video is coming so late in the day, because I actually ended up probably taking a quick cat nap this afternoon because I just felt so out of sorts after the events of the morning. And I'm trying to be better about rolling with the flow when things don't go as I hope they will. I'm not really a person who loves routine. I find that routine gets boring after a while, but I am a creature of habit, and I feel a lot of us may be that way. So it is good to be able to, pivot when things don't happen the way we expect them to, because not being able to pivot can be very stressful, and that's not good for our health. And that's just, like I said, that's something I need to work on. And I feel like, as I've mentioned before, by continuing to make sure that I take the time to sit down and do these videos and post them, no matter what time of day it is, no matter what else has happened, I'm keeping myself accountable. I'm continuing to do things that I might otherwise say, oh, heck, never mind, because the day is just a mess anyway. And I'm hoping to do that with more things in my life. The videos are just kind of an easy route into that, I think, because just sitting down and chatting for a few minutes is a lot less stressful than trying to sit down and revise my manuscript. But I'm also working on that because I do want to spend more time writing, really. I always feel guilty when I'm not writing, which, it's not a matter of I have to write. It's a matter of I want to write. And then I feel guilty because I know I want to write and I'm kind of letting myself down, I think. So it's, being a human is very confusing sometimes. That's all I can say. So I thought I would chat a little bit about how my day went, and you know, the fact that I am still continuing to post these videos no matter what's happened so far. Obviously, if something major happens, that may put an end to, at least one day's video, because depending on how difficult things become, there may be times when I can't sit down and post something, and I have to be okay with that too, because I have to give myself more grace. But as much as I'm able, I'm going to continue to sit down, talk out what I'm doing, and post these videos. And I don't know if anyone will ever be interested in them, but that's really not the point of the whole exercise. I do hope that if anyone does follow along, you are finding some value in feeling that maybe you're not alone, that you are maybe learning some things that you hadn't thought of before. Like, I do occasionally throw in a little bit of history or something, like yesterday's video where I mentioned that Carson City is in Eagle Valley, which some people don't know, because there is also a Carson Valley, but it is south of Carson City. And I will be doing some more history-focused videos as the year progresses, because I want to talk about what I'm researching as I prepare to complete and release Battleborn Bride later this year. And so I'm hoping overall that maybe someone will find some value in these videos if they happen to stumble across them. I'm not going to say I am the expert on anything. I'm just mentioning things that maybe I've learned and trying to share them. And I hope that they may inspire you to go off and do some research on your own if what I mention happens to be of interest to you. So, most of all today, I just wanted to come on here and say I am still here. I did get a little off track today because, as I said, my morning got off to a very interesting start. I am happy to know that I can fix at least that issue with the furnace, because I love having people come in to take care of things. I won't touch anything electrical for sure, and JT wouldn't let me, but some things I like to try to resolve on my own, if for no other reason than to save a few dollars here and there, because, we are retirees on a fixed income. And who knows what the future might bring. So we try to keep a little nest egg in case there are any big issues that we have to address with this poor old house. Actually, mentioning the house, let me give you a quick backstory about this place, because someday I may actually write a book about it. This house has been moved twice. It was built in 1941, and as far as I can tell, it originally resided in a spot on Carson Street, but I haven't quite verified that yet. I have a very good idea of where it may have been, and I'm hoping I may be able to find a photograph at some point. I do know for sure where the second location was, because I did find a photo of that place and saw that it was definitely this house, because it is a quirky house. And I did find information that the state had bought the house and the property, and they auctioned off the house, which is why it was moved to its current location. The state wanted to move all the houses off that piece of land so they could build a state building. And the state building that they built when they, bought up and moved or raised the houses doesn't exist anymore. I actually worked in the building before I knew that my house was there. I'm trying to remember, it might have been even before we lived in this house. And so it's interesting how life can, there are so many coincidences in life, I think. And the story of this house definitely has a few coincidences, because the reason I found out the photos of the second location was the fact that I worked at the state archives, and they had the documents of when the state was buying up the properties, which included, they were doing, not audits, I can't think of the phrase right now, but they were looking into the cost, what the cost of the house would be, what its value would be, and before they auctioned it off. So this house has an interesting history, and it is not a small house. It's around 2,000 square feet, I think. We do have a basement, which is where that noisy furnace resides, along with the water heater and my washer and dryer. If you've been following along on these videos, you will have seen me down there with the washer and dryer doing my laundry one morning. And obviously the basement didn't move with the house, but the house was placed on top of the basement. And then the furnace, and we bought a new water heater because we are in an area with a high water table, despite the fact that we live in a high desert, and we are at about 4,500 feet. The water table in Eagle Valley, it, the valley dips around the Nevada State Capitol on Carson Street, and the water table is very high there. So we are not too far away from that, and our basement has water in the sump hole right now. It hasn't flooded this year, thankfully. We're keeping on top of that, but living here has definitely been a learning process. And you know, as JT and I are getting older, we realize that we are going to have people help us maintain the house over time, because we probably physically won't be able to at some point. But I'm going to continue to do what I can when I can to make sure the house survives for another, gosh, what is it now, 85. Yeah, the house would be 85 years old. It was built in 1941. It is an arts and crafts style house. We do have some built-ins, and we have the door lintels, surroundings, whatever you want to call them, that fit into the arts and crafts style. And I do love the house. It's a great place to live, but it is a lot. I do wish that I'd been able to have a house of my own like this when I was younger, but life didn't work out that way, which is fine. I mean, we were able to buy a house when we did, basically through the help of a family member, and it was unfortunately due to the fact that my mother passed away, and I didn't realize that she'd set aside a little bit of money for myself and my brother, and that money allowed us the opportunity to get this house. It was in between the time periods when the housing prices went really high, so we were very lucky. We've had a lot of good fortune in our lives, and finding this house when we did is part of that good fortune. So I'm very thankful to my mother, and I do wish she could have seen it. I think she would have liked this house, and I feel the same way about my husband's grandmother. I think she also would have loved this house, because part of the reason we bought it is that it reminded my husband of his grandparents' house, so, which also had a basement. I don't know if it flooded. Anyway, that took me off on a little bit of a tangent as usual, so if you've been around, you'll know that that's not unusual for me. Anyway, my day is ending a lot more relaxed than it started, and I need to go finish my Substack post. I am talking about creating my Restless Spirits series, so that will be my Substack post for today. I'm trying to post Substacks every Thursday when I can. I'm doing my best to do it every week, but I'm still trying to give myself grace if something happens and I can't quite make it. Just life happens. Anyway, thank you for following along on this journey if you're here, and I hope to see you again tomorrow. I'm Cassidy Carson, and this is The Life of a Writer. Take care.